I sometimes will feel ungrateful for the experiences that I've been given. You look at a lot of Americans today, our future isn't, necessarily as determined as it has been for previous generations, right? There's more income inequality nowadays. There is, the toxicity of politics is just overwhelming sometimes. And with everything going on with the virus, it's easy to lose sight that every moment is a gift and that we should be living in that moment with a sense of gratitude because we do have the ability to create. We do have the ability to utilize those moments and reshape and reform and reframe those moments into being something positive. But so often we get caught in this trap where we don't want to look at that. We don't want to perceive that. And I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's a way that we try and cope with that sense of suffering, or that we're not really perceiving that true sense of suffering, if that makes sense, because we don't look at suffering as, I don't want to say an absolute. We don't look at suffering as a state of reality.
Yeah, I think most people, if you talk to most people actually love their suffering and they would never give it up no matter what, right? It's like an alcoholic with a drink.
Yeah.
Like like you see there's a problem, but to them there's no problem. It's almost the exact sort of situation that exists because what cause like well, part of what the suffering is like that we think we know what's going to make us happy and then we pursue it and then we end up unhappy and then it's like a vicious circle and it's and because what really is the true cause of joy is not like directly intuitive to almost anyone. um it's just sad. It's just a sad situation. And it's sad whether you're seeing it from the inside or the outside. It doesn't really matter because we all hold the key to unlock our chains and we don't do it. So, and I'm just as guilty as this as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm pointing fingers and judging and saying, well, you guys should just do, no, I'm saying the way we are built and wired this is the way. And is a ton of work to undo that, but it can be done. It can be done. It's a worthwhile to do it.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, once people, I don't want to say they're playing the victim role, right? But I feel like a lot of people identify with their suffering, and
Mm,
and they use that as a crutch for their sense of self, because
yes.
if you don't have the capability or the gumption to improve the things that make you quote unquote suffer around you, whether it's financial, whether it is romantic, psychological, whatever the case may be, if you don't feel that you have the power to improve those things within your life and within yourself, you start using that suffering as a way to define you. You start using that suffering as a way um, to support that delusion that it's outside of your control.
Right, because our delusion is embodied. It's not just in our head. It's literally embodied and then it's enworlded. So the entirety of the world is a product of our delusion. And and I think, I could be wrong, but to me, like seeing the whole situation with the global pandemic and society's reaction and government reaction and the whole chaos of the situation really makes me think about the fact that, it's just, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that exactly, but um, there's really no reason for us to put our faith in worldly things. Back to the faith.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't. I don't think we should put our faith in government, and I don't think we should put our faith in political solutions, and I don't think we can put our faith in science even. Like if you're going to put your faith somewhere, it has to be in the divine, because that's you like that's really the only solution, that because it's outside of the whole problem situation,
Right.
right? Like we're in a situation that's such a existential problem, and trying to find a solution to it within the realm of the problem itself doesn't work. So there's no political solution that's going to solve the existential crisis. Science can't fix it. The arts aren't going to do it. So would humanity itself, like, we can't fix this like on our own. We like it really requires a sort of a devotion to something greater than ourselves. It's just not dissimilar to, like, if we want to sort of defeat or overcome the situation with the pandemic, that we have to devote ourselves to a cause that's greater than our own comfort and convenience. It's not really different.
I feel that the divine is found in all those things, right? It's found in art,
Definitely,
it's found in
there's
science.
nothing that's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's found in. I mean, it's found in everything, right? Even in politics, because it's the divine that inspires all those things within us. And I feel that if you put your faith or your hope in just one of those, you're not going to get the outcome that you're looking for. You're not going to be reassured of the situation. But if you just take little snippets of those things, right? Those little moments that inspire you and others, whether it's a mural that you see on the wall, whether it is I don't know. Let's take for example, the guy who invented the polio vaccine, right? He could have patented that. He could have made a lot of money on that, but he didn't. He gave it away, and it saved millions and millions and millions of lives. And just that act of sacrifice, right, is so inspiring. It's divinely inspired because for him, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the external, right? It probably wasn't even about the praise and everyone telling him what a great guy he is because he did that. No, it was about doing the right thing. It was about following that voice within you. And I feel that in all those mediums, however you choose to try and find that voice within you, spiritual practices or otherwise, you have to be sincere to what that voice wants you to be. And I'm not talking about those, that inner voice of doubt that you have, right? I'm talking about that voice that's deeper than that, that goes to your core. But I don't know, I feel for a lot of people that voice gets muffled. Whether it's the external things muffling it, whether it's our own internal deceptions. It's hard to bring that voice out when you are working two jobs. You got to get home, you got to feed the kids, you have to do all these things that are expected of you, right? A lot of people get so distracted that they don't have the time to really listen to that voice and really focus on maybe what is happiness. I mean, do you really know what happiness is? I mean, a lot of times, for example, I went to a festival one time, right? And it rained the entire weekend. Like, it was awful. It was just cold and it was rainy and it was nasty. And in the moment, I was not having a good time. But I look back on that, right? And I see that as a happy moment, right? Just because I kind of had that experience. So happiness is both not in the moment, but in the retrospective. But also, I could have been happy in that moment. And then I could, remember it as a negative experience later on, depending on what my mood is that day, right? So I feel like a lot of people, when they're trying to discover that inner voice, they don't want to recognize that, their psychology or their, mental selves are not reliable narrators on what can make us happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard really to talk about this because I don't really expect, no matter what I say, that people listening are actually going to understand it in the same way that I do. Because this is a type of thing where you actually have to do the practice repeatedly over years to discover and realize, those truths so that you would know them for yourself about, that spiritual practice is a source of joy, that and it's not joy in the experience of doing the practice. So it's not, you're not looking for happiness in experience. It's so like there's really, this is where words and language sort of are not capable of going. But essentially, like looking for, putting your joy, in the divine. That's your source of joy. There's no seed of it ever falling back into that sense of emptiness or lack, or I thought that was going to do it, but it just didn't do it. No, there's never ever that, ever. So that's the source of all true joy, of ultimate meaning, of real happiness, the stone of the wise, the elixir of life, the true nectar of the gods. Like it, that's what it is. And so it's really difficult to explain to someone that all of the worldly pursuits aren't going to produce that type of joy. Until somebody experiences that type of joy themselves, they won't know. It's like trying to describe to you what it's like to get drunk and you've never had a drink. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to understand me. It's the very similar type of thing. But you can't experience this joy just by doing or taking or ingesting anything in particular, because it's not directly connected with any material substance phenomena. It's really about grace. And grace, in order to receive grace, you have to be devoted, really, and that display that devotion through the practice. And then the grace happens, and then there's joy. But it's not joy as an experience of joy. It's joy that's it's not like you're being joyful. It's like joy is being you.
Right.
That's the best way I could describe it.
It's like I don't know. It's like witnessing ultimate beauty, right? You you try and hold on to it. You try and witness it. You try and experience it. But like, there's so much beauty in the world that you can't see it all at once. It's too much. It's like your heart fills up and it bursts. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like you just gotta like sit back,
But that in
relax.
that bursting, that is, and that openness and that luminosity, that is the divine. That
Yeah.
is the wisdom.
Well, I feel like you also, with that beauty, with that wisdom, like you just have to remember to relax and you have to hold on to it and you have to allow it to just kind of flow over you like rain. And I feel like the essence of that like beatific vision that you have is just overwhelming feel of gratitude for every moment in your stupid little life. And I don't know. I feel like once you kind of have that sense of gratitude for everything good or bad, that's when you start to see the unity in it.
Yeah. And I think the spiritual practice, if it's done authentically with discipline over time, the result is that the body mind can hold that grace and that joy more stably. So instead of it washing over you and being like an overwhelming feeling, it's like a constant companion that sort of informs your every, you know, I don't want to say thought necessarily, but just is it like it informs your way of being. Like, and literally, and I when I use the word inform, I mean that. Like it shapes your body mind in such a way that it molds your reality into something divine, literally divine. And so that is the realization of divinity in that way.